I'm going to call the city council meeting to order. If everyone could take a moment and silence their cell phones. And we don't have any proclamations tonight. We're going to stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance, and I would just mention that today is Veterans Day, so maybe we'll think about that while we recite the Pledge of Allegiance today. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. There was a very nice Veterans Day ceremony today at the VA hospital, and I'm sure there were other celebrations or ceremonies elsewhere today. All right, moving forward to the consent agenda. Is there any item on the consent agenda that needs to be considered separately, or are there any questions?
Mayor, regarding item F, I saw that Kitty Love is with us tonight, and I wondered if we could take a moment and hear from her on that item.
On item F, yes.
Mayor and Council, I'm really just here to say thank you and express my excitement for what I hope that we are about to take on, a 2-year process of assessing our cultural resources in the county. I really want to take a moment to thank staff. We've had a really wonderful experience working together on the Buncombe Cultural Alliance. Brenda Mills and Mark Hunt's been amazing and have really guided this process. So I just really only want to say thank you, and I look forward to working with staff and Mark and working on basically making this process work for everyone and creating a collaborative process to move forward arts and culture in the county. So thanks.
Thank you. All right, do I have a motion to,
Move to approve the consent agenda.
second?
If possible, with the addition of the Thomas Wolfe repairs.
With the addition of the staff report.
Oh, for the
Yes.
Thomas Wolfe Auditorium roof.
Yes, if I could just add, we have added to the agenda some Thomas Wolfe Auditorium roof repairs. It is in the amount of $185,000. We want to get that work moving forward, and would ask that your motion include that.
Yes, that motion is to include item, I guess it would be item P, the repairs on the roof of the Thomas Wolfe.
Thank you.
All right, and a second? Do we have a second? Second. All right. We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda with the additional item regarding roof repairs. Is there anyone wishing to make comment on the motion? All right, seeing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the consent agenda is adopted. Hey, Maggie, I don't have...
Bye, everybody.
And we have a mass exodus. Maggie, I don't have my agenda with me.
Yes. Maybe. I had a couple of 5-gallon buckets like
Yeah,
that
oh.
stuck together.
All right, moving right along while folks are exiting the room. We next have one presentation and report, the ABC Board update.
Yes. Good evening, Mayor and members of council. I'm Jim Ellis. I'm chairman of the Asheville ABC Board. In addition to my presence here, we also have our general manager, Mark Combs.
One moment, Maggie, this is about to buzz.
Is
Sorry, I don't want you to get buzzard in the middle of your...
I'm not going to be long. I promise. Mark Combs is also with me, our general manager, and he'll have a brief slide presentation for council. You know, my term as chairman ends on November 13th, and I've just discovered that's 2 days from now, and my term's going to be up. So actually, I really appreciate the opportunity. I served on your board for 3 years, and then for the past 3 years have served as your chairman. And it really has been an honor to serve, and I'll have to say the last 3 years, particularly since Mark Combs came on board as our general manager, our success has been good. I just make one comment about that. Our North Carolina chairman, his name is Jim Gardner, former lieutenant governor and and quite an individual in North Carolina, has visited Asheville several times, and he's commented more than one time that he's visited almost every board across the state, and he says, no question, that Asheville is the best. With our new stores and the other programs that we've put in place in the last few years, he keeps saying that we have the best ones. And so I give credit really to Mark, our general manager, and to our chief financial officer, Diane Hallengy. There's just not one better in the state than what she is. So thank you for giving me that opportunity to serve. And now I'd like to call Mark to come forward and give you this brief presentation.
Thank you. Welcome back.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. It's good to be back in council chambers. I worked here for 15 years as your Public Works Director, so it's always good to kind of come home and see this beautiful building and be back in here. Before I get started, I'd also like to recognize Ed Hay, who's also on the board, and to his right is Jason Thacker, who's my operations manager, and he's one of the employees that makes things excellent. One thing about the photographs in this slide is that you'll notice that our board members all have iPads issued to them. We've gone paperless, save about 1,000 pages a month on publishing things. We are basically, firstly, our primary mission is the responsible sale of spirituous liquor. We have about 100 pages of statutes and about 200 pages of regulations that we have to adhere to with the state. So we make sure that we get that particular part done. The second very important thing that we do is we return our resources back to the community. And we do that in several ways. We have financial resources that we turn back to the system, and then our education and rehabilitation program. The ABC board has very quietly and deliberately installed a dedicated fiber optic network through the ERC folks. We've replaced our point of sale system, the entire system. We've implemented an advanced credit and debit card system that is so robust and has gotten national attention through IBM and Toshiba, who is coming to film us tomorrow. Because we aren't having the same problems as Home Depot and some of the others that are having credit card problems. So we have a very advanced system. We're very proud of it. And then we're also putting in a new store at 650 Hendersonville Road. The financial information, this is a single slide. Our sales and distributions remain robust. For example, our mixed beverage sales last month were up 23%. We're number 8 in the state in total sales, but we're 4th in mixed beverage sales. We are ahead of Greensboro, for instance, which has 5 times the population in terms of what we sell in mixed beverage. We've increased our distributions last year to you by 10.2%. Our profit percentage to sale, which is our report card, that is how efficient you run your operation, is over the state's 9% goal. We're currently at over 10% right now, so we don't spend money unless we have to. And then also, please note that out of the $19.3 million that are the cost of the product and the state taxes, we only have $6.4 million to work with. Very important that the public know that we spend half our money on the product, and the state gets $800 million a year from the system that goes in its cost. Additionally, the ABC board paid out $312,000 and some change last year for drug and alcohol rehabilitation and education programs. This is a statutory requirement. But for the ABC board, the Asheville ABC board, it's more than that. It's really simply the right thing to do. I sell something that creates a lot of joy, and I sell something that if it's abused causes a lot of misery. So what we've done with the leadership of our good board is that we're funding programs that both give rehabilitation to drug and alcohol abuse, and then we've gone out and started the Arc of Buncombe County, which is a high school-based education program, and Our Voice Incorporated, which is on college campus. and working with the APD and some others in some partnerships in the community regarding education, alcohol education, no more campaigns, all kinds of things that are underage drinking, a whole lot of campaigns. And then the community programming is a general amount of money, but we do prom promise campaigns, we do radio advertising during the heavy seasons, and we have a drink responsibly campaign that we work with the downtown folks. You can see at the bottom that we're implementing the new Black Beards Pirates flag Latin for enough to drink, which is a red card system that we pioneered much like in soccer play. If you drink too much alcohol, we're hoping that the barkeeps put that under your drink and say no more. You've had enough to drink. And what's happened is the first one, the Lamort card, was so popular that people just pinched them, and we were out of them in no time flat. So we're going to make 25,000 of the new ones, and we're going to put Asheville, North Carolina on it, and we hope that people can get the message that to drink responsibly. Our hats off to the merchants and APD for helping us with that. Our new store, we hope to open on November the 25th. They're putting the floor in now. It's pretty much on schedule. We're going to be very happy with that going into the next season. Bottom line is our staff is excellent and dedicated, and our community commitment comes from our hearts, and we're proud to serve this community. Thank you. Are there any questions?
Questions? No, thank you.
A comment. First of all, we appreciate the job y'all are doing. It's an amazing turnaround over the years, and it just continues to get better. And Jim, we appreciate the work you've done over there as well. It's a great board. As everyone knows, we had some difficulties over the years, and right now it's a shining example of good management and good community service. I mean, that's really what it's about. Is responsible sales and running a great business, and you know, it's just great stuff. We appreciate it very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That concludes the presentations and reports for this evening. Next, we'll move into the public hearings. The first is a public hearing to consider a substantial amendment to the 2014-15 Consolidated Annual Action Plan for Community Development Block Grant and Home Funds to grant additional funds for Homelessness Prevention and Rapid Rehousing Program, Shiloh Taft Avenue Single Family Home Construction Program, Rural Housing Rehabilitation Program, East Haven Apartments Affordable Housing Development in Swannanoa, and Mud Creek Villages Affordable Housing Development in Hendersonville. And Jeff Stottinger is here to speak with us about this.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. The federal home program makes available funding every year to the City of Asheville, and the City of Asheville prepares an annual action plan based upon the recommendations for the federal home program from the Asheville Regional Housing Consortium. It serves a 4-county area, including the City of Asheville, Buncombe, Madison, Transylvania, and Henderson counties. In this current year's action plan, $425,000 was allocated to the Housing Assistance Corporation in Hendersonville for a project that was not able to move forward because it did not receive the zoning necessary for it to be able to move forward. So the consortium had available an additional $425,000 to allocate. The consortium met and has made the recommendations as seen in your staff report and summarized here on the screen for the use of that $425,000. Briefly, there would be, and some of these projects had received funding in the first allocation, but were not fully funded, and invited to apply were those organizations who had projects that were not fully funded, or projects from community housing development organizations, which we have 2 within the consortium. One is Mountain Housing Opportunities and the other is Housing Assistance Corporation. The 5 projects were recommended for funding. Briefly, it's construction of 10 new single-family homes by the Asheville Area Habitat for Humanity in Shiloh. an additional $9,326 for a total funding of $20,000 for the Asheville Buncombe Community Christian Ministries for rapid rehousing and homeless prevention that will house 28 homeless households. An additional $50,000 for a total of $90,000 for the for Madison County, who is working with the Community Housing Coalition of Madison County to rehabilitate the homes of very low-income households in Madison County. For Mountain Housing Opportunities, an additional allocation of $62,837 for a total allocation of $162,837 to build 60 new affordable apartments in Swannanoa. And I will note that in between the first round of funding and this round, MHO has went from a proposed 48-unit project to a proposed 60-unit project through the acquisition of additional land. And finally, the Housing Assistance Corporation came back with a viable project on land that is appropriately zoned for this purpose for 66 new affordable apartments at what's being called Mud Creek Village for a total new allocation of $162,837. I'm here to answer any questions that you or the public might have regarding these projects, and that concludes my introduction to the public hearing.
Any questions here?
Just to comment that at the Home Consortium meeting, we had to call a special meeting to consider this amendment, and these were agreed upon unanimously by the consortium.
All right, I'll open the public hearing on item A. If there's anyone wishing to speak on this item, please go ahead and come forward.
I just have sort of a question.
Go ahead and start with your name. That'd be great.
Is this normal that like the sort of affordable housing is going outside of Asheville city limits? And is that,
I can speak to that.
are there goals to not do that?
So these are home funds, and so the federal government apportions these to this four-county area. This isn't Asheville specific. We are the primary entity that disperses the dollars, but the intent is to have that money create affordable housing across the four counties.
But city council gets the ultimate say on where it goes?
We do finally get to, yes, well, the consortium votes, the consortium made up of representatives of those counties and municipalities within the counties make a recommendation. Council does have the final say.
Okay. And is there any prioritization on trying to have that affordable housing in Asheville, or does that?
Well, and this is one program. Now, the city runs its own affordable housing trust fund, and so I think this we have an obligation, as I understand it, to spread the funds across the region.
Okay.
But we also have community development block grant funding as well, too, that is just city-specific, too.
Good questions. Yes.
My name is Judy Strong, and I have two questions. You're giving $425,000, or what is it, $425,000 to the Mud Creek Village development. Did they pass all the required, I mean, that's what I got off the internet, okay? $425,000, did they pass all your requirements for assuring you that the rents will remain low, that they're in a location that you all approve of? Did they pass all that? That's a question, I don't know.
Yes.
They did. Okay, so they've given you assurances that the homes will be rented at a certain price. Okay. Regarding the Madison County total $90,000, I have a friend who's done volunteer work in Madison County, and there is a great need for home rehabilitation in that area. My question is there a way to allocate that money in a different way? Because some of the concerns this gentleman had was that he did not have any insurance to protect him in case he fell off the roof or whatever he was doing, but he volunteered all his time, and all he needed was supplies, and he would do the rest of the work. If you are allocating $90,000 for only 2 to 4 homes when there's a need of like 60, 70, 1,000 homes, I have no idea. This does not seem like a proper allocation of that money. He worked through ABCCM, to provide assistance repairing roofs and doing door jams, I don't know what all. And if you're just giving this money to this community housing coalition for 2 to 4 homes, that doesn't seem like it's spreading the money out far enough to meet the needs. I mean, if you're paying traditional plumbers and carpenters, then you're going to run into a big expense. But you have a lot of volunteers here, a lot of retired people who are willing to do the work, but they have issues about liability and providing the materials that are needed. And that might be a better way to allocate $90,000 than just for 2 homes. Because in Madison County, if you repair a home for, let's say, $45,000, if you only do 2 homes, that family is not able to maintain that property anyway. You know, that's why the property ran down. So if you do work that will allow the occupant to remain in the home, which is what my friend did, you could spread this out not to 2 to 4 homes, but to 50 to 100 homes. So I'm just passing that on.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak on item A of the public hearings? No? Jeff, do you want to address that last point?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Yes, the Community Housing Coalition of Madison County employs a variety of methodologies to rehabilitate houses in Madison County. And in the consolidated plan, housing rehabilitation of existing homes is, in fact, the highest priority for Madison County. The federal home program, for better or worse, requires that homes rehabilitated using these funds be rehabilitated 100% to current building code standards. So they must essentially be like new. Using other resources, the Madison County Housing Coalition, with the collaboration of volunteers such as was just mentioned, with the collaboration of Madison County, is able to do and spread their work among many, 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 many homes. However, in order to use the federal home program, they must use licensed contractors. The home must be inspected regularly, and it has to be brought 100% to code. In fact, they do it very cost effectively, considering that the average statewide for homes being rehabilitated using that program is $75,000 per home. So they're very, very effective use of the funds within the federal requirements for the use of those funds.
Thank you.
And additionally, we can only allocate to people who apply. And these folks applied from Madison County, and they're actually doing some capacity building up there, and we anticipate they're actually going to be able to serve more units over the next several years as they build their capacity up there. I think Ms. Strong makes some really good points, and building those partnerships is something that they are looking to do. And I'm pretty excited about what they can do. I also want to point out the Home Consortium unanimously supported the Givens Estate, which was 120 units of affordable housing in the city of Asheville for some of our senior citizens last year. And it's a real fascinating process because we as a consortium tend to come to unanimity and do our best to have those funds move equitably around the consortium area.
Okay, I didn't see anyone else who wanted to comment on item A, so I'll close the public hearing. And I'm ready for a motion.
I'll make the motion that we accept the recommendations of the Asheville Regional Housing Consortium.
All right,
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? No. All right, thank you. Thank you very much. Next is a public hearing to consider the conditional zoning of 593 Azalea Road from RM16 Residential Multifamily High Density District to Office District conditional zoning to allow an existing residential structure to be used for office space for Asheville Buncombe Youth Soccer Association. And we have Julia Fields here with us.
As you indicated, Mayor Mannheimer, members of council, this is a conditional zoning request for property that's located at 593 Azalea Road near Rec Park. Swananoa River Road is approximately here. Here's Azalea Road. This is Gashes Creek leading into the Rec Park area, and this is the subject property. It's quite large, a little over 14 acres. currently zoned RM16. It's largely, as you can see, undeveloped, containing only a single-family dwelling that is vacant. It's surrounded by residentially zoned properties, although, as you know, there are offices and other facilities in the area, most notably Rec Park and the Nature Center. The property is currently accessed off of a gravel drive from Azalea Road, and as you can see, is a very steeply sloping piece of property and heavily wooded. It's serviced by well water and a septic system. The request by ABYSA is for conditional zoning from RM16 to office conditional zoning, so that the single-family dwelling that's on the property can be converted into an office building. Building has a gross floor area of about 4,500 square feet. The access, as shown on the site plan, will be improved to meet City of Asheville standards and will lead to the office building and accompanying parking. I think it's 18 parking spaces. City's Technical Review Committee reviewed this application in September and approved it with conditions. Many of those have been met in the materials that you have before you. And the Asheville Planning and Zoning Commission at their meeting in October recommended this matter to you unanimously. And staff has received no comment on the proposal. The applicant and the owner of the property are here. And if you want to see what the home looks like, of course it's not been occupied for a while. That's the home that they're looking at renovating. That completes my presentation.
The applicant wants to make a comment. Yep. Or representative of the applicant.
I'm just helping ABYSA. My name is Margie Mann. I'm with Robertson Stevens, and I want to thank you for considering this for ABYSA. I do have Mike Rochcobb, the director of ABYSA, here if you have any questions, and the builder, Chris Brock, and Carl Kuhn, the owner, is also here. Julia has basically told you exactly what we're trying to do. We're going to use it as office space. Additionally, I did meet with the Homeowner Association for Viewpoint, which is really the only real neighbors that aren't the Western North Carolina Nature Center or the soccer fields. And they are pleased with what we're doing with the property, in that it preserves and conserves their backyard, which is wooded, helps with their view, and they had absolutely no objections. So if you have any questions for Mr. Rochcobb, Mr. Brock, or I, other than that, we're basically asking you to zone this for us.
Thank you. All right, we'll open, do you want to make a comment?
Mayor, council members, my name is Carl Kuhn. I'm the property owner, and I would ask that you approve this conditional zoning and would be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay. All right, before I open the public hearing, are there any questions?
Yeah, I have, the question I have is...
And is it for Mr. Kuhn, or we don't know yet? Okay.
I'm not real sure, well, I think it's probably for Julia. So the purpose of this change is for this building to be used as an office.
Correct.
Doesn't this, by changing all 14 acres, aren't we permitting potentially that the whole place could be developed for offices?
No, with conditional zoning, it's site-specific
Site-specific,
approval.
okay.
So basically, what you see is what you get, is what I like to explain.
I just want to make that clear in case people wondered about that, because we are reducing potential availability for housing
right
at the same time.
And you saw that acknowledged in the staff report,
Yeah.
that perhaps this isn't the highest and best use ultimately for this piece of property, but it's an application that staff thinks makes sense at the present time.
Thank you very much.
Let me add that I'm also the owner of the property to the east of this that's zoned RM8. That was my home place, and it's my wishes and my family's wishes that it not be developed while we're alive, but once we pass out of the picture, we imagine that that 14 acres and the other 22 acres will be developed into something that I think the community can be proud of.
Mm-hmm.
And this is Viewpoint that Ms. May.
Yeah. Okay, so let's open the public hearing. If there's anyone wishing to comment on this item, this is item B of the public hearings agenda. Please go ahead and come forward. Yes.
All right, I just
just have a question. I'm wondering, why does it have to be located here? I mean, why does money have to be spent to renovate it when there are other buildings around that are vacant, that are not being used, that have space? I mean, the library buildings have space, this building has space. I'm just wondering why this is being chosen. That's just a basic question, I don't know. I mean, there's funds that are going to be used for that. I don't know if they're city funds, but I'm just curious. Thank you.
Let's get all the, if there's anyone else wishing to make comment on this item, please go ahead. All right, seeing none, why don't we go ahead and, if you want to, Margie, do you want to respond to the question?
I'll just talk to you about that. This is ABYSA funds will be used to improve this property. The location is important because it's right next to the fields where most of the soccer games are played. One other thing about ABYSA, it services thousands of children across Buncombe County, as well as brings in millions of dollars with their tournaments and that sort of thing. So it's a very productive organization within our community, but no funds other than ABYSA raised funds are being used for this project. And we do have a lease with Mr. Coon's company, which is a private lease.
Thank you.
I think there may be some confusion with Asheville Buncombe Youth Soccer Association. That isn't a city, that is not a city department or part of our Parks and Rec. That's a private nonprofit.
Good clarification. All right, do I have a motion on this item?
Move to approve.
Second.
Do you want to add something?
Yeah, there's a recommended motion in the staff report that covers.
And I'll use the recommended
All right,
motion.
let me find the recommended motion. Whoever gets there first.
It is at pay, if you look at the staff report, oh gosh.
I move to approve the conditional zoning request for the Klepper Drive development from residential multifamily medium density to residential multifamily medium density conditional zone, based on the site plan with the proposed modifications.
Is that the wrong motion? Sorry, that was item B.
Apologies. That one's not pulling up for me.
It's not going up.
I'm having a hard time pulling it up myself here.
It's loading very slowly.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, great. All right, let's try this again. I move to approve the conditional zoning request for the ABYSA office at 593 Azalea Road from residential multifamily high-density district to office conditional zoning district, and find that the request is reasonable, is in the public interest, and is consistent with the comprehensive plan and other adopted plans in the following way. The plans propose the compatible adaptive reuse of a property from vacant residential to office.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Is there any other questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the motion passes. Item C, public hearing to consider the conditional zoning of 6 lots on Klepper Drive from RM8 Residential Multifamily Medium Density District to RM8CZ Residential Multifamily Medium Density District conditional zoning for road construction modifications and flexible development request for lot size. And we have Alan Glines here to speak with us tonight, and this is a great opportunity to introduce Alan in his new title as Interim Planning Director. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council, members of the public. This is the requested area. This is South Charlotte Street here. This is Hazard Street here. And the 6 lots actually exist now. They have a sort of a, oh, here's an aerial map. There's one house here on Circle Street, circle at the top. This will provide access to the area. There's a few houses on the surrounding area there. These properties have a long history. The current owner purchased them, those remnant pieces illustrated here, from the city when the city was disposing of excess property about 2005. In the intervening period, he was able to contact the DOT and add additional land to that, which made them more conforming. And so a subsequent recombination plat was approved because When we have existing lots, we add to them, we make them more conforming. The existing right-of-way, though, is irregular and sort of stops right in this area here. It doesn't make contact or access to Hazard Street. The 1901 plat, though, actually records similar, this is the area of the lots. These were unchanged, but these were really altered during the urban renewal and construction on Charlotte Street years ago. So we, with this improvement, the proposal would be to create a regular right-of-way, one that will connect in a one-way fashion down to Hazard Street in this way. It's fairly wide at the top, but it does neck down to about 20 feet wide when it connects to Hazard Street. That's one of the modification requests. The parcels are currently unused. They're vacant today. And because we're creating a regular right-of-way, it takes a little bit of land and space away from those existing lots, makes them a little smaller. But even with the smaller area, with the way houses are being built today, some of them are narrow, smaller homes, more of a vertical formula, so they're not ranch houses per se. They would be more of a vertical style of home. It's possible to build houses here. When they submitted the initial plat, they were just sort of showing how they might fit with a back deck or a front porch, that kind of thing. So the houses can fit. They are asking a little bit of flexibility on the setbacks. Normally setbacks would be 15 feet front and rear. They're asking for a 10-foot flexibility, reduced to 10 feet. And then the frontages, they will be getting slightly smaller because we're cutting into those lot areas. So they will vary between 35 and 43 feet for 4 of the lots on this side going down. These 2 lots will be conforming for frontage. We've reviewed this proposal with the 7 conditional use standards. We're not bound to that, but we have reviewed against that, and we feel that there's a lot of benefit to having these lots approved and this subdivision approved with modifications. The Planning and Zoning Commission also concurred with that recommendation. We feel that it meets city-adopted plans and strategic goals because it's the comprehensive plan encourages higher density infill development at locations where there's suitable infrastructure, where because we're adjacent to the central business district, we're close to jobs, recreation, transportation, and because the land is currently vacant and will contribute to the fabric of that neighborhood. So we hope you'll recommend approval. Thank you.
All right, any questions before we open the public hearing? No, all right. I'll open the public hearing. Is there anyone wishing to comment on this item? All right, seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Do I have a motion? I wasn't able to open.
Oh,
You've got a motion?
I move to approve the conditional zoning request for the Klepper Drive development from residential multifamily medium-density RM8 to residential multifamily medium-density conditional zone RM8CZ. Based on the site plan with the proposed modifications, compliance with TRC requirements and conditions agreed upon by the applicant and outlined in Exhibit B1, and find that the request is reasonable and is in the public interest and is consistent with the comprehensive plan and other adopted plans in the following ways. 1, higher density residential infill development at locations that are suitable for such development with sufficient basic infrastructure is supported. 2, the proposal is adjacent to the central business district area and is close to jobs, recreation, transportation options, and shopping. 3, the land is currently vacant and will contribute to the fabric of the existing East End neighborhood.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the motion passes. Item D, we need it. Thank you very much. Item D, I need a motion to continue item D until December 9th.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Is there anyone wishing to provide comment on the motion to continue item D until December 9th? All right, seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. All right, item D is moved. All right, new business, boards and commissions. The Honorable Jan Davis is in for Mark Hunt on this item.
A great honor, too. Really wish I were with
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that.
Anyhow, we'll do our best. And my computer's not pulling up the information, so I'm going to go by memory on part of it, but there's not tons here. Tonight, we will be determining who to interview for ABC Board, and we will also be looking at council's responsibility to appoint the ABC Board Chairman, and I'll start with that first. The board itself has recommended, and there's been an expression of interest by Commissioner Wilfred Lack who'd like to be chair, and the board supports him on that. And I will take a moment to let you know that Mr. Lack has been the ABC Board's representative. He's actually been on the state board representing us there, and it was very good to make all the meetings well thought of on the state level, and the ABC Board would like to have his appointment there. But also open the floor if you have other folks who'd like to play. The committee this afternoon does recommend the appointment of Bill Lack as the chairman. I'll put that in form of a motion.
Second.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that will appoint Mr. Lack. And again, going by memory, there have John Minkus, who is his first term has expired. He's only served one term, or partial term, and that is to expire 11/13. And John's had 100% attendance and expressed an interest in being reappointed. So I make that a motion. That's the recommendation of the committee.
Second.
Any discussion? We will reappoint John Minkus now. And yeah, we do need to vote on it. Not rusty. Those in favor of Mr. Minkus?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And then I think on there we've had an expression of interest to fill Mr. Ellis's seat of Charles Worley and
Louis
Isaac. And we can interview both. I think we all know Charlie Worley, and Charlie has served before, in fact, was chairman. Louis Isaac has also, I think most of us know Louis, but if there's an interest in interviewing either, or if the committee would actually, at this point, recommends reappointment or appointment of Louis Isaac, in that he has not served there before. So if there's interest in interviewing him or appointing, we would be open to that.
I move we appoint Louis Isaac.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And I believe that part of the Noise Ordinance Appeals Board, we are going to continue to advertise
it.
that.
Okay, great. I did have someone express an interest in it, and I don't see their application, so that's good. We'll have some more.
Right. And
more opportunity.
I would offer that board's going to come into greater play as our ordinance works itself out. So those that are watching this or in the audience, if you wish to serve the community, that would be a great spot to do it, and it would be probably a very interesting board to be part of. So I would suggest applying for it. And also, we'd like to reiterate the appreciation we have for Jim Ellis's work.
Service on ABC.
Right.
I would add about the Noise Ordinance Appeal Board. I was liaison for 2 years, the first 2 years on council, and I think it's a way for citizens to learn really the nitty-gritty of how ordinances get applied and how both sides can be kind of right in an issue, and how tough it is sometimes to decide what the right answer is. I think it's a very educational one, actually.
All right, we are to the public comment period of the meeting. I have one person signed up to speak, so I'll go ahead and call that person, but if other folks after that decide they would like to speak, that would be fine as well. Jonathan Robert. Robert, I'm going to do this every week. Sorry.
I'm here to call for Mr. Bothwell's censure. As we all know now, via a cell phone camera video, the memo that has been kicked around and debated as to where it lives and where it landed was definitely in Lieutenant Wilkie's file. Mr. Bothwell has gone on social media, called police officers liars. He's called police officers racist. He sent an email to the head of the PBA, the executive director, that told him, and I quote, that you should piss up a rope. This is conduct unbecoming of a city council member. It shames me as a citizen of this city. If any of you people on this council had a backbone, you would censure this man. If you look at your ethics, the ethics that's written down, you're supposed to act with respect to all citizens, regardless of their political affiliation. You stepped over the line, Mr. Bothwell, and I hope you can apologize, and I hope this council realizes that there comes a time and a place for people to act, and the time is now. That's all I have to say on the matter.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak? Yes, sir. And please just state your name and 3 minutes per person. Thank you.
Thank you. Andrew Clark, addressing the last issue that was on the agenda having to do with the noise ordinance. I'm one of a growing member of residents in the South Slope of Asheville, and we're fortunate also to have a lot of new businesses moving in there as well. As you all know, there were a number of changes made to the noise ordinance in 2012. A lot of work went into that, and I think 6 specific proposals for changes were made, and there was also a recommendation to come back and revisit those after a year. In fact, after a year, they were revisited and there was a report. However, after the 6 items that were originally proposed, there was a 7th tagged on, and that had to do with lifting the ban on outdoor speakers in the central business district. That was not part of the 1-year review. I and others in the central business district have been very deleteriously impacted by this, and we would respectfully ask the council to circle back and include that last item. And I believe Councilman Davis suggested that that be included in the 1-year review. We've provided you a lot of data about the impact of the residents in the area, and we can provide you a lot more. So I think there's a misconception that people should be aware of noise in the CBD before they move there. I want to remind you that a lot of the residents of the CBD have no choice of where they live. There's a lot of low-income, subsidized housing, a lot of people living below the poverty line who can't leave and can't live somewhere else. Also, a lot of us who are homeowners, we purchased our homes with this protection and this ordinance in place. It was lifted after the fact. So please, as Councilman Davis recommended a year ago, 2 years ago, come back, take a look at this again. There's an awful lot of data to support the initial concerns by 2 of the commissioner members of the Planning and Zoning Commission that it would negatively impact residents. It has, and we respectfully ask you to go back and take a look at this and change it back. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. Oh.
Mayor and Councilman, I'm Brian Edwards, and I own a unit at 32 Broadway. One of the appealing things, I was born in Haywood County, and I'm delighted to be back in the Asheville area. And over the years, I've witnessed the progress that you all have made as city leaders. But I'm here to object to the external speakers that have been affixed to the outside of buildings here in the downtown area. For example, my condo at 32 Broadway Street has a speaker next door from Tressa's Bar, and it will sometimes blare until 2 a.m., which makes it very difficult for us to sleep and for our visitors to come to Asheville. I did write a letter, and I realize some of you all were not on the council at that time, but on August the 3rd, 2013, I wrote to the mayor and council encouraging you to restore the ban on external speakers in the downtown area, and I'll leave that with you. I also have a letter from the board at 32 Broadway, if I may just, it's a brief letter. The 32 Broadway Condominium Association Board respectfully requests that you consider restoring the ban on external speakers in the downtown business district. The decision to allow outside speakers that can be heard for several blocks, often until 2 a.m., has disrupted the lives of residents and visitors. Our residents are severely impacted with the external speakers located next door at Tressa's Bar and the outdoor upper level patio at the Social. Conclusion. Asheville is a unique, beautiful, and delightful city that attracts residents and tourists from many states. Downtown Asheville has made and continues to make tremendous progress in revitalization. We urge you to stay focused on your mission of creating an environment that is attractive and welcoming to all. Thank you for the opportunity to make this request.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
My name is Larry Shames. I live in the Aston condominium on Church Street, and I would like to add my voice to the previous speakers regarding the noise ordinance and very specifically the ban on outdoor speakers. I want to thank the mayor and the council for this opportunity to speak. As some of you may know, in October at the last meeting of the Noise Ordinance Board, some neighbors and myself brought 3 complaints against Ben's Tune-Up on Hilliard. And the Noise Ordinance Board, and Mr. Bothwell, speaking to your point about the usefulness of the Noise Ordinance Board, I was so impressed with the seriousness and the detail in which they considered these requests. It was a great experience. The board upheld all 3 of our complaints, which I believe sets an important precedent and certainly an acknowledgement that this is, in fact, a very serious problem that very meaningfully affects the quality of life downtown, and I would suggest also affects potentially the longer-term economic viability and the idea of downtown as a good place to live and a place where the needs and interests of businesses and those of residents are attentively and fairly balanced. I believe that the lifting of the ban on outdoor speakers disrupted that balance. And as a downtown resident, I support local businesses. I love the vibrancy of downtown, but I don't think it's in the longer-term interest of our city to allow this loud, amplified music. So I would respectfully urge the board, as did the previous speakers, to reconsider this and consider reinstituting the ban on outdoor speakers. Thank you very much.
Anyone else wishing to speak?
Good evening. My name is Priscilla Njai, and I was born and raised here in Asheville, North Carolina. I left and traveled around the United States and came back and felt like at one point in time I came back into a time warp. But as I sit and watch all of the different changes, the changes in the infrastructure, the creation of all of the affordable housing, it disturbs me to look around and see that there's more focus on the infrastructure than there are people. I say that because I've been watching the news and I've been sort of staying on top of things, watching the increase in homelessness. And I know that there's a report that states that the homelessness rate has decreased, but when I see an increase of children in the shelters, that lets me know that we have a problem. And I just wanted to ask, have you seriously considered in doing your city planning, have you considered what happens when things such as public housing, we know that Lee Walker Heights, for one, is getting ready to be demolished. What is going to happen with all of those families who are going to be not just displaced, but evicted because they want to be assisted when it's time to relocate back into public housing if they're not in good standing? If any way that they're out of order, if anything has happened where the rent is not paid, they're not going to be able to relocate once Lee Walker Heights is rebuilt. So what's going to happen to those families? I heard some stats in reference to the South Side, which is where I was born and grew up. Erskine, Walton, and Livingston. 2 years ago, there was an increase in evictions with Housing Authority, and just a year ago, those evictions doubled. And within those evictions, you have residents who can't go back into public housing. So if they can't go back into public housing, where can they go? If they apply for other housings, 9 times out of 10, based on the credit report, based on probably the criminal history, they have nowhere to go. So I just would ask that you would consider in your plans, when you're building up the city, think about the people. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak? Thought I saw. All right. We have a closed session, and you've got the motion. You do. And we will be adjourning from the closed session. Go ahead.
I move that the Asheville City Council go into closed session for the following reasons. 1, to prevent disclosure of information that is privileged and confidential pursuant to the laws of North Carolina or not considered a public record within the meaning of Chapter 132 of the General Statutes. The law that makes the information privileged and confidential is NC General Statutes 143-318.10.3. The statutory authorization is contained in NC General Statutes 143-318.11A1. 2, to consult with an attorney employed by the city about matters with respect to which the attorney-client privilege between the city and its attorney must be preserved, including but not limited to lawsuits involving the following parties: Resurgence Development Company and the City of Asheville, State of North Carolina and the City of Asheville. The statutory authorization is contained in NC General Statutes 143-318.11A3. 3, to discuss matters relating to the location or expansion of industries. The statutory authorization is contained in NC General Statutes 143-318.11A4. And 4, to establish or to instruct the city staff or negotiating agents concerning the position to be taken by or on behalf of the city in negotiating the terms of a contract for the acquisition of real property by purchase, option, exchange, or lease. The statutory authorization is contained in NC General Statutes 143-318.11A5.
Second.
All right. All those in favor? Oh, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? And as I mentioned before, we will adjourn from the closed session. There were some folks here talking about the outdoor speakers downtown, and Mr. Davis reminded me to let you know that the Downtown Commission will be looking at that issue before it would come to council, if it were to come to council. And so that will be the process.
Do you know when they're going to do that?
And we're having a discussion about when that will happen.
That would be the second Friday in December.
The second Friday in December.
No, it would be the second Friday in November, which is still.
I think the Downtown Commission is reviewing that this Friday.
Oh, I'm sorry. The Downtown Commission is reviewing the issue this Friday.
And that will be in the first floor downstairs.
Downstairs in this building.
Is that meeting open to the public?
Yes, yes, absolutely. The question was, is that meeting open to the public? And yes, it is.
The mayor has already requested to have it put on the city council agenda directly to the city council.
And I'm just going to reiterate your question because the camera doesn't capture all the, so the question was, does the request to bring the matter to City Council, is that going to be granted, I think is your question. And the process we would follow is, first, the issue would be reviewed by the Downtown Commission, and the recommendation, if any, would come to council. So it needs to start with the Downtown Commission and go from there. And it may be that it is additionally reviewed, for example, by the Public Safety Committee, Subcommittee of Council, and it could be reviewed by P&Z if it resulted in a suggestion to amend the ordinance. So just a few, that's a logistical process. All right, that was a long adjourn. We're adjourned.